On Two Wheels this week, we meet a man who's spent thousands on his Honda Firestorm. Also, Jeff visits this year's classic bike show, and Wayne gives us the lowdown on motorcycle alarms. This is the very popular Honda VTR Firestorm in its standard form, but many owners choose to modify their bikes in some way. It could be something as basic as fitting a new end can, or maybe a Dynajet kit, or perhaps something as simple as a coloured screen. Recently I went to meet Gareth Davies, who spent most of his spare time and much of his spare cash modifying his pride and joy. And here is the pride and joy, a beautiful Honda Firestorm. Gareth, it's eye-catching, stunning even. Yeah. But you've done all sorts to it, more than I could possibly explain. So tell us some of the things you've done at this.
Well, the basic engine was taken out and it's had pistons and different cams, and the heads have been flowed.
But why have you done that? I mean, because a Firestorm's not a slow bike.
No, you want more.
It's a torquey twin, but could you not get what you wanted out of it?
Not as standard, no, I wanted more. So that was when the work started, really.
Flipping it. I think the first thing that caught my eye when I first looked at it was the end cans. Well, I say end cans. At a glance you'd say, yeah, fancy cans on the end, but it's a bit more than that.
It's a full system. It was made by a firm called MHP in London. It's downpipes, headers and tail cans all in one.
Right. So that's been designed, so that's a one-off, is it then?
Handmade, yeah.
Handmade
system, yeah.
Can you put a price on that? Approximately.
It'd be cheaper now because one's been made, so he's got a
He's
got a template, but probably about £1,200, something like that.
Flipping it. And the wheels, of course, not standard.
Yeah, they're magnesium Dymag wheels. Yeah.
Right. Are they an off the shelf?
You can buy them off the shelf. Yeah. Again, they're around the same price as the exhausts.
So over £1,000 in the exhaust, over £1,000 in the wheels.
Oh yeah, easy. Yeah.
Let's go back to the engine then. This gas flowed, tuned up, and all this. So you've got what? I take it you've got more top end now.
Yeah.
Because the twins don't rev very high, do they?
That's right. Well, the basic bike runs out of steam at about 7,000 revs, and this revs hard all the way up to 11,000 now.
Flipping heck. Oh, and going down to the bottom again, swing arm, very, very fancy. So, but why have you changed that?
When you give the bike more power, you create a bit of a stability problem with the bike. So the bigger swinging arm straightened the bike out again. Right, that swing arm, that's standard. You can go and buy that. Yeah, you can buy that from JMC. They're only in Kirby. Right. And I think you're looking at about £400 for a swinging arm. It's getting very expensive, this, isn't it? Right. Yeah. What about anything else? Suspension? Yeah, the suspension. The front forks were reworked, but the rear suspension's WP White Power, it's called. Right. Yeah. You're looking £600 for a rear shocker with a ride-out adjuster in it. What about the brakes? Any? Back one's totally standard, because I don't really use the back brake, to be honest with you. I don't use the back brake. The fronts have just got different hoses on them. Right, they're fine, yeah. I noticed you've got a little tricky thing there sticking out the side of your front disc, like a little sensor. Oh yeah. Just explain what that does. I've got the speedometer off a bicycle on it, so I glued the sensor into the disc. Yeah. And then it sends a message up from the sensor to the speedometer. And does it work all right? Yeah, it's spot on. Yeah. I didn't know bike speedometers went that quick. Yeah, they're up to 200 miles an hour. Do they? Flipping it. So what do you use this for? I mean, a lot of people who spend a lot of time and effort on bikes and finish up with something as nice as that, stick it in the garage and bring it out on sunny days. No, it was used all last summer. I did 18,000 kilometres on this last summer. So every day on track days and weekends. I was going to say, do you get it on a track, because it's an out-and-out performance job, this. Yeah, I've been around Alton Park on it, and it's all right. Oh, it's very fast, yeah. Frightened a few people on R1s. Does it? Right. So is this? You've done an awful lot to this. Yeah. Did you buy the Firestorm in particular to do this too, or what came first, the idea or the bike? It started off, I had a 916 years ago, and I liked the V-twins, but I didn't like the build quality on the Ducati. And Honda came out with a V-twin, so I thought I'd take the basic bike and pep it up a little bit. Brake horsepower. Standard Firestorm's about 90-something brake horsepower. Yeah, late 90s. So have you measured this? This is just over 120 at the back wheel. That's pretty good for a... But the torque figures are monstrous on it. Yeah. It produces 70 foot of torque from 5,000 revs all the way up to the red line.
It sounds great. I can't wait. I'm going to have a go on this. Right, I'm impressed. It's very impressive, and I can't wait to see your next creation, whatever that may be. So I suppose it's watch this space, is it?
Yeah, I don't know what next. It'll be a Honda, whatever it is.
Right, fair enough. Well, we'll come back to see your next one.
Yeah.
Well, that's Gareth's very fancy and very smart Honda Firestorm. Now, maybe you've got something that you're particularly proud of and you'd like to share it with everyone else. If so, then write to us, email us, and perhaps we'll come and see you and your machine.
The classic bike scene, still as popular as ever. As you can see down here, loads of people. But classic bikes are often very, very difficult to define. But here at the Classic Bike Show at Stratford, we've got some very unusual bikes, some very rare bikes, and some just plain interesting bikes. Now, in the early 60s, 1962 to be exact, Ariel were more famous for four-strokes, as were BSA and Triumph. But they did introduce this. This is Ariel's creation, the Ariel Leader. And this really was a sort of pan-European of the day, meant for touring and commuting. It came with built-in panniers. It came fully enclosed so that you wouldn't dirty your clothes on the thing. Even a little petrol tap sticking through the side down there. It had a steel spine frame and the fuel was in that. So this little cubby hole on the top here, that is for tools and bits and pieces and your sandwiches. And then you come up to the dash panel here, and it was very much made to replicate a car. So you got a little headlamp tilt adjuster there. You got your speedo in the middle, ammeter and a clock. Underneath you've got your indicators there. This was very, very modern. You might think it was sort of off beam, and it was a bit, not that popular. They did sell, but not enough of them. But you had this full weather protection, big fairing, as I say, just like a pan-European. But if you were a sports guy, what you could have is this one, the Ariel Arrow. Really a naked leader, as it were. Same motor, twin-cylinder two-stroke. You can just see the steel spine frame here, all in one big pressing. Totally enclosed rear chain. Trailing link front forks. In fact, these handled so well that they were raced with some success by a lot of racers. And they were quite a smoky little tool. Smoky being the word, because it was a two-stroke. Mick Phillips, your features editor of the Classic Bike, and you don't look the sort of guy that I'd say is typical. I mean, the Classic Bike man is perhaps more like me, not you. So what's the attraction to you?
Well, to me personally, a lot of the bikes here, the bike I've got in front of me, bikes all around us there, I suppose the cliche is that they're full of character. But I think why a lot of people turn to classic bikes, people of my age, I mean I'm in my 30s, you see an increasing numbers of people doing that because they can get a very beautiful, good-looking bike with a lot of individuality for, you know, not too much money.
So look, you've written for a lot of magazines, you've done a bit of freelance, so you're not just doing this classic bike thing as a job then, are you?
No, not at all. You know, they don't pay us enough for us to do it as a career. I mean, everybody involved in it, we're involved in it because we're enthusiasts firstly. Yeah, and that's
what counts, really.
That's
yeah.
right, that's right.
And this beautiful Guzzi, this is your own. In fact, I read a feature on this anyway. You actually featured this in the magazine. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it was a find of a lifetime, really. I bought it in bits, in very good bits. It was more or less in the condition you can see it now, but all disassembled. And all I had to do was bolt it together. It was a bike that I'd wanted for a long time, and it came along quite cheaply.
And you're pleased with it? It runs well? I mean, how does it compare with the sort of modern Exotica? It's a different league, I know, but I mean, what is it for you about this Guzzi in particular?
I mean, yeah, you're right, it's nothing like modern Exotica. It doesn't brake as well, it's not as fast, but the feel of the engine and just the sheer pride of riding it, of being noticed. I mean, yeah. I think a lot of bikers are
poser, yeah.
We're all posers, you know. And you get a lot of attention wherever you go on it. It's shiny, it's a weird, bright colour. And people haven't seen many of them around.
Yeah. And have you found it reliable? What about the electrics? Now, in the era of this one, Italian electrics were a little bit iffy, weren't they? What about yours? Have they behaved themselves?
They're good. I mean, I think with Italian electrics, a lot of it is the wiring and the connectors. And as long as they're okay and they're in tip-top condition, I mean, most of the actual components on here are Bosch, which, you know, it's all good stuff.
Yeah. Okay, then, Mick. Well, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Instantly recognisable BMW. Not that much change from the modern bike. If you look at the casings there and the flat twin layout, this one's 50 years old, 600cc. Even then, in the 1950s, telescopic front forks, plunger rear suspension. But look at this here. See these big seats? They're almost like the old Massey Ferguson tractor seats. Big spring under there. And look at this for the pillion one. What do you think of that as a grab rail? And that's got twin springs on it. Very comfortable, but not finished yet. See up the front here, handlebars. None of that complicated BMW switchgear. But there is on the one behind me. As I was saying, indicators. This is a 1961 R69S, and it's got its indicators there. Here's the switch, not half as complicated as they are now. Just down for turning right, up for turning left. Oh, well, I think I got that right. But seriously, these aren't that complicated, and there we are. I'll put it back to neutral. The bulb's actually out on that one. But things have moved on a little bit with this one. Up the front end here, Earl's forks, leading link, big shock absorbers there, unadjustable, but this was still a sophisticated bike. Coming to the rear end, the first swinging arm you've got on a BMW here. There's the old shaft drive, there's the plunger unit there, but it is swinging arm and not straight plunger suspension. And look at this for adjustment here. See that little lever? You take a pillion passenger, no tools, just crank the lever round. Looks nice, doesn't it? A big Honda, but not a CB1. This is a CBX, 1978, 6-cylinder this one. Look at it, it's wider than my knees, 6 carburettors, 6 of everything, except for the wheels, of which it's only got 2. In fact, the wheels are Honda's Comstars, where they had steel spokes riveted to an alloy rim. What you have to watch is corrosion down at the bottom end there. But what you also should watch is this engine down here. Absolutely mega, just look at it, 6 cylinders, 24 valves of course, 6 carburettors to play with and tune, and behind it I can see down here in the gearbox the primary drive is an absolutely massive chain, fully oil immersed down here. It's a hell of a lump. And this bike, looking very modern, 1978, 105 brake horsepower, is nevertheless a modern classic, something to collect. Well, here's another 6 for you, this time Kawasaki, 1300 cc's, water-cooled, Dove Aerobag cam, and not only that, this one's also got shaft drive. And another thing, 54,000 miles on the clock, just goes to show that classics aren't necessarily in museums or in workshops, they're actually on the road, like this one.
And there'll be lots more from Jeff at this year's Classic Show next week. And after the break, Wayne looks at the high-tech world of motorcycle alarms.
Securities, yes indeed, loads of different types. I mean, these here disc locks and these flipping lock and chains and cables stuck on shackle locks and new locks, loads of different ones. They drive you mad, but they are relatively simple. You just lock your bike up with them to something. What about these clever devices, alarms? Flaming hundreds of the different ones, different sizes, different prices, different makes, all sorts. Now then, I can't answer the questions because I'm not smart enough, but I know a man who can. So I'm going to introduce you to Alistair. Hi Alistair.
Hiya.
Alistair's our fitter on your bike and has to do this job all day and every day. Fitting and answering endless amount of questions, don't you?
Days on end.
Yes. You get bored sometimes, don't you?
Occasionally.
Right. Well, I can understand it because people ask the same questions, but they need to know. I mean, I know, for example, that you can buy an alarm for 20, 30 quid, but you can buy an alarm for hundreds of pounds.
Oh, yeah.
So should we cut the chase and go right to the clever ones, the ones that you should have for insurance-approved purposes?
Yeah.
That gives you a discount, doesn't it?
Yeah, usually 5 or 10%, depends on the company.
Right, so that could be quite a fair bit of longer on some policies. How many are different makes? And
There's about half a dozen different makes, and they're all about in the same price region, £300.
fitted?
Fitted.
So if they're all 300 quid fitted, and they're all, you know, and there's so many of them, why? I mean, one would do the job, wouldn't it? One at 300 quid fit that one.
Well, in theory, one would do the job, but it does depend on what bike you've got as well. For instance, if you had something like this Buell.
Why? What's so special about this Buell, Alistair? Is it like got one for itself?
Well, not exactly, Wayne, but as you and I both know, Buells and Harleys and bikes of that sort vibrate an awful lot.
You said that very diplomatically, but they do, I agree.
They do.
They shake a lot.
They do.
So do they wreck alarms?
They just shake the brains apart.
Ah, right.
And they fall apart. So for this one, I put this on, which is set in almost concrete.
Right then. So you've worked this out from a process of elimination. You fit a few in.
Fitted
right.
a few.
So you've ended up with that's like a lethal weapon. You could hit someone over the head with the back
Certainly
of it.
could.
Right.
Yeah.
So look at the wires. I can't believe that lot. How do you work them out?
Well, they've all got colours on the end, and there's 3 lives and 7 earths on this one, so it does take a few hours to fit it.
That's why you're the fitter and I'm not.
Exactly.
Right.
But on a bike like this, it's very exposed, no nice little compartments to put it in.
Yeah.
You need something waterproof and shake-proof.
So what you're saying is it's not specifically for it, but you have sussed out that that is ideal.
Yes.
And is this the case with a few other alarms on other bikes?
Similar things on other bikes,
Yeah.
The R1, for instance, XJR, they have already plug-in looms.
Yeah.
And people like Data Tool, you can just plug their alarm into it.
All right, makes
Yeah.
your job easy then, doesn't it?
No,
Oh.
because I prefer not to use those. If I can plug them in, someone else could come and unplug them, even if they were super glued.
Got you,
So I
right.
still solder all the joints.
Oh,
and
I
you
see.
won't find any of this sort of thing.
Ah, right. So
Like
you solder the
use-
joints?
yes.
Yeah. Rather than use the old horrible
Yes.
method, and that's the difference. Right, I've got your drift. So we've got a fancy alarm on a fancy bike. What about turning these things on and off? How does that work? Just the usual key fob thing?
Well, yes, you turn them off with a key fob, the transmitter,
Yeah.
but usually they arm automatically, as on
Right.
this one.
So you turn the ignition off when you pull up, take your key out, and it
It
sets
just
itself.
sets itself.
Or if you don't want it to set itself because you're giving it a clean or something like that.
Well, there's various different ways of doing it on different alarms. They're all different.
Right then. Okay then. Right. So that's not specific for the bike, but it suits the bike. We've got an alarm that suits the Buell and Harleys and so on. Let's have a look at some alternative types of bikes. Right, Alistair. So we've sussed out the old Buell and that, and the Harley types, and of course super bikes. I suppose they're easy to sort out, super bikes with all the fairings on. and
Yes, it
everything.
does make them a lot easier to
Yeah.
fit.
Retro bikes like this, I mean, bandits are out there. There's thousands of the flipping
are.
things, and this big 1300, and of course we've seen one on it. What was that? An XJR type retro bike.
Yeah.
Where do you put them? Like, is it a problem?
No, it's not much of a problem on a bike like this. The only thing you do find with this sort of bike, people don't want the nice new bodywork drilled or anything like that.
Yeah.
So in this, for instance, I put a laser line on for the guy,
Yeah.
and we put the LEDs in the tail light.
Right. So if you turn that on now with that key fob, that laser, that sets the alarm like that, and the LEDs will shine in the tail light.
LEDs come on now, yes.
Okay, smashing. So the LED light, they have a LED on every alarm, do they?
Yes, you don't
So
have to
people-
have the LED for some of them, but it does let you know the status of the alarm.
Right. And you've got a noisy bit,
Yes.
the alarm goes off. So what else do you get in an alarm? I mean,
Well, apart from a lot of black wires and a lot of circuitry,
yeah.
they've got immobilisers in them as well, built
Got you.
in, and they've got to withstand a 5-minute attack test.
A 5-minute attack test.
Yes.
And this is what the insurance companies
That's what they-
stipulate, and
that's
that's
they
how
do.
you get your discounts and
Yes.
everything. Right then. Okay, I can understand that. We've referred to alarm types and basically different ones will fit different bikes and so on and so forth. What about extras like? Do we
Well,
have,
that's
I mean,
it,
you don't
yes.
get much for your money. You don't see anything for your
You
money.
don't
apart
see
from a little
anything.
light
No,
flashing.
there's various other things you can get. Extra sirens to put on. This, for instance, by Data Tool, is a garage security system.
All right, yeah. So what does this mean now?
It means you can plug your garage or workshop into your bike alarm.
Ah, right.
So if a window gets attacked, it sets your bike alarm
So
off.
if it's separate to the house, for example, you've got noise.
You've got a noise as well.
Brilliant. Oh,
They
that's a
can-
good idea. Is there anything like that in any other brand? Do you get any extra features?
No.
You
Just
must have
extra
noisier
sirens, yes. Big,
Yeah.
heavy sirens.
Yeah.
The other thing, of course, are pages. A couple
yeah?
of companies have pages.
All right then.
You
So
can-
when the alarm goes off, the pager bleeps.
Bleeps you, yes.
And depending how far away you get to your bike, so I mean, how far do they sound?
About half a mile. Depends on
You have
what
to be
building you're
flipping
in.
them for Christy to get back to your bike in time.
Well, you just don't bother. Just get
You
the
just-
bus.
But at least you know that your bike's just been
Yeah,
nicked.
you know your
Got
bike's
drift, know
gone.
where you're coming from. Right, well, fair enough then. I suppose we've referred to super bikes and we've seen it on the R1 there,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got this retro style, and we've seen the Buell. What if your pride and joy is a bit of an old bus?
Well,
I mean, but of course you don't want it nicking.
you still don't want it disappearing, so you still put
So
something
you
on
can
it.
still fit them to the
Oh,
earlier
yes,
machines.
yes, no problem
it's
at all.
Not that there's a restriction in the
No,
type of ignition
it doesn't matter
system.
the age of the bike at all.
I think we need to see a few earlier bikes and see the different types of earlier bikes. Will this go off, do you think? I'm sorry about activating that alarm, but I
Right.
just felt the need, But it did go off quite easy. I just give it a kick. Do they not go off dead easy on their own? Does like a bus goes past and sort of wave
No,
it?
they're all worked out by little computers inside the boxes,
Ah, right, yeah.
so that they don't get tripped by a cat jumping on it, a bus going
Yeah,
past.
yeah.
The spy ball, for instance, as is fitted on this one, has got a ball bearing inside a sphere and its little sonic eyes like on your car alarm,
Yeah.
looking at that, controlling movement. So it doesn't matter on an older bike like this, whether
Yeah.
it's on the side stand or the centre stand,
Got
it
you.
sets itself automatically.
Brilliant. Oh, that's a clever idea. So that's on the spy ball, and the
Yes.
others have just addressed the
They've got
problem in
their
their
own way
own
of
way.
doing it, yes.
They got your drift. Okay, right. You know the key fobs and everything.
Mhm.
There's a way of educating the key fob. You teach the key fob, don't you, off the alarm?
Yeah, the unit itself's usually got the capacity to learn 2 or 3 or even more different transmitters. So if you've got his and hers bikes in the garage, for instance, Mr. goes out to work at 3 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't want to have to take both and turn them both off.
Yeah.
So you teach both bikes to use the same transmitter.
Got you.
You turn them off, unchain them, ride away, and the other one will automatically arm itself.
Set itself. Got you. Right. You know when I kicked it and it went off, how long, I mean, you've got to carry on making a sound for 3/4 of an hour? No.
No, they're not allowed to do that because that would be a noise nuisance.
Yeah.
They switch off after about half a minute and reset themselves. So if somebody again tries to attack it, no problem.
They've addressed everything, haven't they? Obviously, they have to. There's laws, rules and regulations, insurance company requirements, so on and so forth. Well, I think you've addressed everything. I mean, you know, we've did different types of bikes. Just before we finish, though, an earlier bike like this doesn't cause you a problem fitting it?
No, not at all.
Not at all?
There's still somewhere to put it.
Well, where do you stick it, like, you know?
Well, on this one, for instance, it's in the tailpiece. It's a nice big dry hole to put it into.
Yeah. Is that what you aim for? Somewhere nice and dry?
Somewhere nice and dry.
Got you, yeah. And so it doesn't really matter what your age or your value in machine is. Obviously, it's valuable to you.
Oh, yes.
You get a bit of insurance discount, maybe, depending on your policy. Can you put them on the next bike if you sell your bike? Is that a feasibility?
Not really. You only get the one certificate of installation.
Got you, and that's unique. Because, of course, you're tapping into wires and everything.
Oh,
and
yes,
I presume you dispose of all information referred to where you put it in that lot.
You've seen all these black wires with either colours or numbers on them. They get cut off when the wire's soldered on and
so
traced into the
if you told
loom.
somebody, you'd have to kill them?
Yes.
Got you. Well, I won't ask then.
Good.
But what I will ask is before if you just if you just like to shoot off a little bit, if you turn the camera off or go away, because I want to talk about getting a bit of a deal on a cheap fitment. I say go away, I want a decent price. Ta-ra, bye-bye. So Alistair, is there any chance of you doing me one bit of cheap, like, you know, a bit of discount?
I don't know. My boss is a right stickler.
Oh, yeah.
On Two Wheels next week, Jeff uncovers some more blasts from the past at this year's Classic Show, and I take a ride on Yamaha's new muscle bike, the XJR 1300. And don't forget, if you'd like us to come and visit you and your special machine, then write or email to this address.